Hi there, Simon from simonwoods.com. How's it going? It's not going all that well for me here. As you notice, I've got 4 wines with screw caps on here, and the screw caps have been removed. That's because I was doing a video like just before this. I got to the end one and the phone went, and I was sort of going, do I answer it, do I not? Anyway, so usually I like to do it straight from the horse's mouth, as it were, me being the horse. But you're getting second-hand notes this time. Let's see if I can get through without there being some sort of disruption. But I really enjoyed the wines first time round. I'm sure I'll enjoy them just as much this time. Any connection between them? Well, 3 Aussies and a South African, 2 Pinot Gris, or is it a Pinot Gris and a Pinot Grigio? You're going to have to wait till later on to find out. But I'm kicking off in Western Australia with SSB, as they call it, Margaret River Semillon Sauvignon Blanc, and it's from the McHenry Honan winery. Now, I don't know if you were a Magic Roundabout fan, but there was someone on there called Mr. McHenry. I don't think it's anything to do with him. I think the McHenry family has been great growers in Western Australia for a long time. And the Honan bit, you might have heard of David Honan. He was the guy who founded Cape Mentelle, one of the first Margaret River wineries to make a really big splash. And he also went on to found Cloudy Bay in New Zealand as well. But this is their SSB, 2009, weighing in at just 12.5% alcohol. And normally my concern for wines like this is, and it really does depend on whereabouts you are in Margaret River. If you're at the southern end of Margaret River, sometimes wines like this can almost have too much of that pungent green peppery edge, which is very distinctive, but personally it's a bit of a turn off for me. I know some people love it. That's neither of us is right, or we're both right. So but this one doesn't have, it's got a touch of it, but doesn't smell too much of it. It's got more on that ripe citrus, apple, bit of pear, things like that. Let's have a whirl. Yeah, that green peppery edge comes through when you get it in your mouth, but rounded. It's like this slightly cooked apple, bit of rhubarb as well. Those what I call English fruits, and the ones that you need to add a little bit of sugar to get them to really release their true colours. It's also got a bit of something like plums as well. Tasty, crisp, and it's got this spine of acidity that keeps it all together. The fruit, yes, it's got this quite rounded, cooked edge, but yes, that acidity and that little edge of green pepper holding it together very nicely. Yeah. Okay, next one down, Fairview. We're over in South Africa now. Fairview Chenin Blanc from the Darling region, yeah, Chenin Blanc in South Africa. There's loads and loads of it. They used to turn most of it into spirits, into brandy, but we're not drinking as much of stuff like that at the moment. So so they need to do something with it, and so there's people have been looking at it as like an inferior grape. But you look at what it does in the Loire Valley, makes some of France's top wines, makes some dreadful stuff as well. And it's got to be a bit the same in South Africa. There's some cheap muck and there's some really high quality stuff. Let's see where this sits. Well, 2 things. First of all, the bit I don't like about it, it smells slightly jelly-like. It's I can't remember the last time I had a jelly cube, but you must have eaten jelly cubes when you were young. And, you know, you squidge them together and put your thumbnails down those perforations, and it's that weird texture when you bite into it. Probably about too many years since I last had one, but I can still taste that, and I get a little bit of that character. But there's also a slightly musky edge. You know, when you've got a fresh pear and there's a slight grittiness to the skin and that layer under the skin, it's got a bit of that character. Yeah, it's funny, that jelly edge is on the nose, but when you put it in your mouth, actually it's a bit more rounded. Not voluptuous, but it's really quite fleshy and full-bodied. But Chenin Blanc, wherever you plant it, one of the things it's going to give you is acidity. So while it doesn't come across all tart, what it doesn't come across as either is just too wobbly and louche for its own good. The Chenin's, the acidity is just keeping it firm, straight, sitting upright rather than slouched in a chair. I like that better than I did the first time round. It's growing on me, and Chenin ages really well, so I wouldn't be surprised if, I think the McHenry Honan, that's a wine that you sort of drink until the next vintage appears. It's not going to have fallen over by the time 2010's on the shelves, but this one almost feels like by the time the 2010's around, this will be even better than it is now. We like that. Almost reminds me a little bit of Mâconnais whites. There's this like edge of pear and apple crumble there. Okay, the next one down. This is where we go, is it Gris, is it Grigio? We've got a Pinot Grigio and a Pinot Gris, both from South Australia. I think the idea is if you put Pinot Grigio on, you're aiming more for that slightly crisper, slightly more anonymous northern Italian style of wine. If you put Pinot Gris on, you're going for something more voluptuous, a bit richer, spicier, maybe even a touch sweeter, Alsace style. So this is the Pinot Grigio. I mean, 14% alcohol, so it's not a shy fawn. And it's got some of that ever so slightly volcanic edge, minerally edge, but it's got these very light, delicate apple pear flavours. There's something on the back of the bottle, what's it called? Nashi pears. Now, I'm sure that there are some people who know precisely what a Nashi pear looks and smells like. When I see Nashi, I think of Dennis the Menace and Nashi, or Nasha as he was. But it's obviously some sort of distinctive pear, which means something to somebody. They also say a bit of rosewater. I must admit I don't get the character of rosewater here. Actually, I like that more than I thought I was going to. And it's got this, yes, this minerally edge going through it. That's for me is the main characteristic. It's got these quite light, delicate. Have you ever had apple froth? You know that stuff. You know, every restaurant seemed to go about 5 years ago. Everything used to have to come with some froth. Have you ever had an apple dessert where they've done apple froth? It's got that that appley edge to it. Bit of citrus, but this minerally edge. And yes, 14% alcohol, but it's carrying it nicely. It doesn't come across as overbearing. It doesn't come across as hot. It comes across as not too crisp, but crisp enough to keep your mouth refreshed and wanting more. So I'll have some more. Yeah, nice. I like that. I like that more than I expected. Final wine. This is the one labelled Pinot Gris. It's lower in alcohol, but when I put it in this order because this was when I've had this in the past. This has had a touch of sweetness to it. It's also, I don't know if you can tell from the camera, but it's got a quite pinky tinge to it. I mean, Pinot. There's Pinot Blanc. And there's Pinot Gris, so that there is like, the skins aren't actually grey, but much as the skins of a black grape or a red grape, some people call them black grapes, they're not black. So, but there is a bit of colour to them. So if you make the wine and the skins stay in contact with the juice for a little bit, it's going to pick up a bit of colour. Hence this, yeah, ever so slightly pink wine. And yes, you smell it, and it's richer and rounder, and yes, it smells like it's going to be sweeter and fleshier than the Pinot Grigio. There's also, I mean, I didn't get that rosewater character here. There's also something a bit more exotic here. The spice, there's an edge of that light cheese, almost as if there's a dollop of Gewürztraminer in there just to pep it up a bit, but I don't think there is. Yeah, rich, rounded, peachy, and the sweetness is there, but you've also got this acidity, again, acidity, for me, hallmark of all these four wines. Flesh mixed with acidity. So yes, while you've got that sweetness, it's beautifully balanced. There's an edge of plum there, there's an edge of, yeah, peaches, nectarines, yeah, and this exotic lychee and spice, ever so slight touch of ginger as well. So which do I prefer, Gris or Grigio? Well, I like them both. I suppose you get down to what you're going to drink them with. If I were going for something that had quite a little bit of sweetness and spice into it, I'd go for the Tim Adams. That's the Pinot Gris. If I were going for something that were maybe a bit more fleshy seafood, but not with quite as much obvious spice, I'd go for the Gum Pinot Gris. So Adelaide Hills from the Gum Pinot Gris, and Clare Valley for the Tim Adams. Both of them nice. Actually a nice set of four wines here. I've enjoyed doing them. Hope you've enjoyed doing them too. Hopefully there's not going to be a third one of these, so see you on the next one. Bye.